the screenwriter who created the Oscar-nominated Wag the Dog and The Verdict. So where did he find inspiration for his latest film? In his love of martial arts.
We need a gimmick. One more time. Ricardo brings the old man up from Brazil. He fights for the honor of his mentor. Murasaki brings the belt. He fights for the emperor. What do you got? A grudge match. It's back to the 30s. Black against white, Irish against Jew, a racial grudge match. Give me some velocity, eh? Velocity. Or else it's just two monkeys in the ring.
Your scripts have a certain feel to them. As different as they may be, people come away knowing when David Mamet has written something. There's a texture to it, there's a feel to it, there's a cadence to it. Can you describe it for me, what it is?
Well, thanks. I think that's a high compliment. I'm just trying to me, drama is all about get there. That's all it is.
Get where?
Get whatever's happening next. The whole idea of drama is three things. Who wants what from whom? What happens if they don't get it? And why now?
So there's conflict. You have to have conflict.
That's all that there is.
Yeah.
So most people, I guess they go to colleges, and colleges try to teach them how to write drama, and they teach them about character development. But there's no such thing as character development. All there is action.
And the characters, what we infer about the characters come out of their actions.
Absolutely so.
Yeah.
That's all. Aristotle said that in his book called The Poetics. This is the best book ever written about playwriting. He said all character is habitual action. So when we see a character on screen, it's no different than seeing a character on life. Somebody comes up to you in a party and says, "You don't know me, but I'm an honorable kind of guy." What's our first reaction?
How do I know that? I don't trust you to begin with.
Sure.
Yeah.
You say, whatever you say about yourself, I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true in drama. When characters describe themselves, we have to say, I'll be the judge of that.
Do you have an opinion of humanity that leads you to think that most people are honest or dishonest, or do you generalize it all? Do you go in with a preconceived notion of what humanity is likely to do to itself?
Well, plays are not about nice things happening to nice people. Right? Plays are about conflict, and plays are about the difference between our intentions and our results, or the difference between our self-view and our actual morality, or the difference between our view of the world and God's view of the world. They're about conflict on different levels, and so we call these different levels comedy or tragedy or melodrama. But they're all about conflict.
How often, I mean, part of conflict, I guess, comes from within us, ourselves, our perception of what it is, what our intentions are, versus what our behavior is and how others perceive us.
Sure.
Does that play a large role in the way you kind of, without developing your characters, you put them into action?
Well, the character's got to want something. He's got to want something specific, because we can infer the general from the specific, but it's not going to work the other way around. So, in this movie, Redbelt, Chiwetel Ejiofor, the main character, wants to become the perfect fighter. That's his goal, is to become the perfect fighter. But he's given a task, he's given a challenge that he didn't foresee, and he quits. Because he says, I can become the perfect fighter in this jiu-jitsu academy where I control all of the variables, but the world outside is much too messy, and certainly one wouldn't ask me to apply these principles to the actual world. And so the gods
big fish, small pond, going out into the big pond. Yeah.
And so that's every hero journey and every hero myth is exactly the same myth. Moses is fine on the mountain, but he's got to come down, deal with the golden calf. Jesus is fine in the garden, he's got to come down, and he's got to deal with
reality. Intrudes. Yeah.
And whether it's Moses or Jesus or Martin Luther King or John F. Kennedy or the Lou Gehrig story, it's all the same hero myth.
Yeah. And all stories drawn out long enough end up in tragedy, don't they?
Well, yeah, except if they go on one beat longer, as we're told, they end up in comedy.
When you watch your works, I mean, you can when your plays are being staged, do you go back and watch them after they're actually out there to see how they're developing, whether they're developing lives of their own? And I'm wondering.
No, I mean after the play's open, you got to say, I might have known better then, and I might know better now, but that play's done. I'm going to write another play, because it's never going to be perfect.
When you write and direct a film, how do you know when you're done?
Well, they take back the camera.
They say you've only paid for this many weeks, the camera's gone.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
But even after the camera's gone, there's innumerable ways to edit something, right?
That's exactly correct. They say you get to write a film 3 times: when you write it, when you shoot it, and when you cut it. And of those 3, curiously, the most important is in the cutting process. Because what you always end up in the cutting room saying, I thought I knew exactly what I was doing. What have I done? Pleading with someone to shoot you in the head in your shame.
Are you shamed much by your own work when you see it?
Well, it's just that I love making movies. It's the most fun thing in the world to be a movie director. It's an extraordinary privilege and nothing but fun. But and what you're getting paid to do is make decisions, because you have a great plan when you go. You're going to battle, except instead of getting God forbid shot, you're going to battle with the form, and so everything always goes wrong on a movie set. Because that's
the weather's bad.
The weather's bad, exactly.
Down,
so
somebody gets sick.
The shark didn't work. Somebody gets sick. The costume didn't fit.
Do you have sharks in your films?
I haven't, but Steven Spielberg famously says that the shark didn't work.
Yes.
And that's why.
I just wondering if maybe you had a shark that you were pondering.
No, but I worked with a Dalmatian. I worked with this Dalmatian. I said, with all these gags in a movie called State and Maine. It's a pretty funny movie.
I was just going to refer to that film.
So it's about a Dalmatian, right? And they have to be a Dalmatian because it's about a firehouse, and the firehouse there's so great gags about the Dalmatian, and everything's about the flopping Dalmatian. And then there's a big scene in the rain, and the Dalmatian won't go in the rain, right? And the Dalmatian won't go in the rain. And I say to the trainer, comes out after the fact, Dalmatians are trained to avoid water. That's why the Dalmatian is a coaching dog, because they used to run in front of the coaches at night, and if there was a puddle or something, they'd avoid the water, and so that you could see the Dalmatian because the Dalmatian was white.
Then why in the firehouse? What's the deal with?
Because of the whole thing. So that why was
the Dalmatian always with the fireman?
I'm telling you. So here's why. It's because Dalmatian was originally a coaching dog, trained to run out in front of the horse-drawn coaches, because of course they didn't have lights.
Okay.
And so the coachman could see the Dalmatian. The Dalmatian was trained to avoid water, and so and so the first fire engines, of course, were horse-drawn,
right.
So that they had coaching dogs. So to this day, but there's a good gag in the movie. It's Philip Seymour Hoffman and Rebecca Pidgeon, and she's the town librarian. And he says, "Why is the Dalmatian the firehouse dog?" And so she says, well, the first organized fire department was in the year 423 on the border of Dalmatia and Sardinia. And he says, oh, and that's why the Dalmatian. She says, yeah, it was either that or a sardine.
Which is not trained to avoid water at all.
No, not at all.